Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1883, interviewing family members is what we're going to be talking about tonight. My apologies for being so late on tonight. There's been a lot of stuff happening. I'm not ready to discuss it right now, but there are some changes coming, and you guys will be let in on what's happening very soon. So stay tuned. So tonight we're talking about interviewing family members. And we're talking about your genealogy again and getting answers from people and talking with them, recording them. How do you go about it? So tonight we're going to look at, hang on, I got to go. We're going to give you some tips about conducting an interview with a family member. Now you can do this. Oh, sorry. I got a frog starting in my throat. Okay. So how do you go about interviewing a family member? Well, first of all, you're going to set up an appointment with them. Either have them come, either if they're going to visit your place, or go to them. If you can get to them, that would be easier than expecting them to come to you. One moment. Excuse me. Yes, we're only going to do the one. All right. Sorry. So set up an interview time for either for you to go over there or them to come to you. Preferably you go to them if possible. Would be preferred. So before you do an interview with them, you're going to have to do some preparation. So step one is preparation in advance. Prepare in advance. Make a list of questions. Have a set of questions or topics ready to guide the conversation. Stay flexible, because don't just sit there with your piece of paper with your questions on and go, what's your full name? When were you born? Where were you born? Bop, 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 bop. No, you want to hear the stories. You want to get them talking. So you're looking at questions. Tell us about the time that you and grandma, how did you and grandma meet? Talking to your grandfather. You might be talking to your grandfather. How did you and grandma meet? And then they tell their story. Now, something in that story that they say, you might write it down on a piece of paper because you want to come back and ask another question on that point. So you have to stay flexible. It's like when we have guests come on here, I just like to have a conversation with them. And I ask a question, I listen to the response, ask questions from their responses. So some of them, they may just turn around and go, da, 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 and you can't find anything out of there that you want to follow. You then go on to the next question. So stay flexible in the questions, because if something comes up during their response that you want more detail on, be flexible enough that you can then go, hey, can you clarify this for me? Or, hey, you mentioned this. Can you explain that to me? Or tell me more about that. Do preliminary research as well. Know names, dates, and places so you can ask more specific questions. If you know that somebody was born around a certain time, or if you know whereabouts they were born, but you just need clarification, have those questions ready as well. Gather any family photos that you have, any documents, any heirlooms, anything that will jog their memory or inspire stories. There is nothing that I like more than to sit down with a photo album. The black ones with the black and white pictures, that have the black corner thingies on there, and they've got the white writing on it and all that. I love those. I love photo albums. I love when people can, like if you see an interesting photo on the wall, it could be, it was taken at a sunset or something like that, or it could be a sunrise, you don't know. You go, oh, that's a really cool picture. Tell me about it. Just start them off with something that they're comfortable with. So when we're starting off with comfortable things, so make sure you've got that stuff with you to go through. If you are doing an older relative, ask them if they have some family photos that they can talk about, or if they have a family album that they could show you. And from there, you just get them telling the stories of the photographs, and you slip the questions in. Oh, that's Uncle Pete. Oh, I didn't realize that he had a beard at that time. Oh, what did Uncle Pete do? And you start asking questions about Uncle Pete, and they'll tell you all the stories about Uncle. And you'll pick up other family things along the way. Oh, so who did he get married to again? Oh, well, when did he die? Just be curious about questions. Just all things like that. Or if you see some beautiful vase, or maybe there's a plate displayed on the wall, or there's a cross stitch on the wall, or something, ask them about it. I mean, in my possession, I have a cross stitch that my great-grandfather did. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. I'm going to get it framed at some point. I'm going to get it framed and hung up because it's a really cool, it's of a knight on a horse and with his armor on and his jousting stick thing. But my great-grandfather made that. And I have a barometer, which is an oak barometer. It doesn't work anymore, but it belonged to another great-grandfather. So I have those in my possession. And so if you've got people around who are around that time or can tell you the story behind those, ask for the stories. So that's your preparation in advance with a little bit of other stuff thrown in. Create a comfortable environment. Choose a quiet space. Conduct the interview in a relaxed, quiet environment with minimal distractions. If you're at their place, do they have a place that they like to sit where there's little distractions around that's nice and quiet? If they're coming to your place, do you have a place that you can make them comfortable with? Offer refreshments. Even if you are going to their place, take refreshments with you so they don't have to worry about that. Yeah, find out what their favorite, do they prefer tea or coffee? Take it with you so that they don't have to worry, oh, I've got somebody coming over and I need to do that. Just take the stress away from them. Just tell them you're going to bring everything. And just anything to make them feel comfortable, relaxed, bring the snacks with you. Find out if they have any dietary requirements and all that sort of thing. Set a positive tone. Make the conversation friendly and open. So you don't want to be sitting there going, name, date of birth, place of birth. When did you get married? How did you meet? You want just a relaxed conversation. Hey, how did you and grandma meet? Oh, cool. How did you propose to grandma? That's always a good question. How did you propose to grandma? Questions like that. How did you want to know those stories, but just make it friendly conversation. And if they say something in their answer, listen for their answers and use those to prompt other questions. It's just a friendly, open conversation. Use good recording tools. Audio-visual recording, use a smartphone, use a digital recorder, a video camera. Set the video camera up off to the side where you can still see their face. If you have somebody coming with you who can operate the video camera, so if you're looking at photographs, they can, without being intrusive, like come from the side or over top so that they can see the photographs that are being pointed to. But you want them to be unobtrusive. You want them to be off on the side there where they're not going to be in the way. I remember interviewing my great aunt, and I had my digital recorder with her, and I had it sitting on the table, but it was face up. Even though the microphone was on the end of the recorder, it was face up, and she could see the red light to show that it was on. And she was very kind. She kept looking at it and was very conscious of it. And she finally said, "Look, can you turn that red light off?" I went, "Sure." So I picked it up, turned the red light away from her, fiddled with it like I was turning it off, and then put it back down where she couldn't see the red light, put it down upside down on the table so she couldn't see the red light. And then the floodgates opened. And we got some really good stories out of her after that. But because she was so conscious of that red light on the digital recorder, so if you have equipment that has red lights on them, find a way to mask them so they're not a distraction. That's why with a video camera, if you can have it off to the side where you can still see their face, and if you have somebody that's with you, or even if you're, if you've got your smartphone and you're looking through a photo album, put your phone onto the camera with the video and record it so that you capture the pictures that they're looking at and the stories behind them, rather than having somebody, over top on that. So, and then ensure everything is working beforehand. Ensure the batteries are, they've got fresh batteries, or the batteries are charged fully. And even have pen and paper with you so that you can take notes, even if you are recording. Sometimes, there's a follow-up question that you want to ask. They've said something and you need to write it down so that you remember to go back and ask a question about that. Just sit there and I quite often just sit there with pen and paper in my hand, and I will jot down notes, even though I know I have the recordings, but if I want to do follow-up questions, they're already written down. Start with easy questions. You want to warm them up a little bit. So begin with some simple questions like, their name, their place of birth. Just ease them into the conversation. Just let them know this is what we're going to be, we're here today to learn, to help you leave your story behind for future generations. However you want to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. So begin with the easy questions like, what is their name? Where were they born? When were they born? If you don't know that, or just say, now, look, I have it recorded that I have it down that your birth date was such and such a date. Is that correct? Because sometimes you could be celebrating, you might have the wrong date down, or they've been celebrating it on that day that you have written down, but they found the birth certificate that showed it was a different date. It could be a day later, it could be a day beforehand, it could be 2 weeks later, it could be a whole month later. They were celebrating in March when their birthday was actually in April. So you want to verify the information. Can we just go through this and just verify the information that I have to make sure I have the information correct? And beforehand too, you may have asked them to, if you have any documents that you can easily, and emphasize the word easily, get your hands on, like birth certificates, death certificates, anything like that, that we may be able to take photographs of them. That would be very helpful as well. But don't go looking for them if you don't know where they are. It doesn't matter whether or not you have them. If you have them, it will be good. If not, it doesn't matter. Make sure they understand that. And then after you start with the easy questions, just start going a little more detailed, asking more detailed questions, maybe some that might get an emotional response, like, how did you propose to grandma? And then when you're interviewing grandma, you say, how did grandpa propose to you? Get both sides of the story. If you can get both sides of the story, that would be awesome, because you're getting two different perspectives on the same event. So it'll be very interesting to hear two sides of the story. And if you've got them both sitting there and you're talking with both of them at the time, they'll be filling in each other's stories. No, you didn't do that, Jack. You did blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, I didn't do it. And you get the bantering going backwards and forwards. Be an active listener. Listen actively. Let them talk without interruption. And I will tell you this from experience. If you ask one question and they start answering it, it might trigger something else in their brain, and they go into another story, then another story, then another story, and you're sitting there without interrupting them. You're taking down notes because they said something in one story you want to go back and verify the facts on, or you want a little bit more information about it, or it's led to another question. Just let them talk. If they want to talk, let them. Don't interrupt them with questions. And go, okay, well, that's enough on that one. We need to get on the next. No. We're having a conversation. You're just sitting there to listen to the stories. And then you're going to ask follow-up question, which is why you're taking notes at the same time as they're talking and you're not interrupting them, because you may want clarification on something. They may have mentioned an event that happened. So, in there you mentioned going to somebody's engagement party. Whose engagement party did you go to? Oh, and are they friends or are they part of the family? And if they're family, how are they related? You can start asking those sorts of questions. Just clarification, that's all. Stay flexible. Be completely open to where you might have your planned questions here, but they're going off. You ask this one question here and it's taking you off on a completely different tangent, and you're not going to get to these other questions. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Let them talk. Let them tell their story. Respect emotions and boundaries. So on sensitive topics, some stories may bring up emotions or difficult memories. Be sensitive and be willing to move it. Watch their body language. If they are getting uncomfortable, like squirming in their seat or something, move on to another question. Find a way to move on to another question that stays away from that topic that brought up some memories for them. Respect their privacy. If they don't want to answer a certain question, don't push. Because this might be the first time that you're talking with them about this subject, it could be something they may be willing to discuss later on, or it's just something they just go, we don't talk about that. I've had that happen too. Use your visual prompts, your photographs, documents. If you've got historical documents, if you've got the old family photos, if you've got maps of the old hometowns or countries, that will help them visualize places. Can you show me on the map here where, here's this city here. Now, were you close to this city, or was it, whereabouts in the city? Or if you've got a map of the city, let's have a look at the map. Yes, I'm talking real maps here too. If you can get historical maps, that would be awesome. From the time that they were living there, it would help them remember a little more. They may even still be living in the house that they were born and raised in. You could ask stories about the house. Who are all the people that are, so you were born and raised in this house, Grandpa? Yep. Who else has lived in this house? How long has this house been in the family? Start asking questions. It may not be on your list, but you've just found out that your grandfather was born and raised in this particular house. How many people have lived in this house? How long has it been in the family? Who's all that's lived here? And be prepared to take a lot of notes, because if they start rattling off names, you're going to want to know, how are they related? Are they aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews? grandparents, ask. Where was I up to? Keep the interview engaging. Share your own, occasionally put in your own personal story or family story to create more conversation, and keep it casual. It could be like, well, I remember going and visiting that place. I remember going and visiting you when you lived in that particular house. And I seem to recall that it was laid out this way. And that may start them off on it. And, I got to sleep, and the room I slept in was this particular one. You go down the hallway, and it was the first one on the right, directly opposite the bathroom. And I remember staying there. We stayed there a few nights. I can't remember how many nights we stayed there. Or like the time I stayed at my great aunt's house. All of us kids were upstairs in the attic. Well, I was about 15 at the time. And my brothers and I, along with our second cousins, we were all upstairs in the attic at my great aunt's place. It was a finished space. It had the sloped ceilings. It had all these different beds up there. We were all up there in sleeping bags. We had a great time up there. I was the only girl up there. There was not a lot of sleep gotten as we were busy talking and chatting and catching up, and we hadn't seen each other for a while. And I'll tell you, that night, let's see, I was 15. Then I didn't see there's the second cousins that were there. I haven't seen any of them since then except one. And we happened to be at Dad's first cousin's house having a family meal, and his son, who was the second cousin, shows up, and we worked out that it had been like 30-something years or 40-something years since we'd seen each other, since that night in the attic. That's how long ago that was. And he turns up with his girlfriend, and they'd been out. That's right, they'd been out fishing, because we went down and we got the boat out of the water and that sort of stuff. And it was the first time I'd seen Anthony in, what was it? I'm trying to remember when I was down there. Brad was with me. 2006, I think it was. Yeah, it had been like 35 years. It was like 35, no. Oh gosh, now I'm trying to remember. 40 minus 15. So been about 25 years, 25 to 30 years since we'd seen each other. And we're just like, yeah, remember. And we also remembered all of us sitting around the table that we were sitting at that time. And on one side there was a bench seat there, and then there was all these separate chairs. And we sat there and we figured out how many people have been sitting around that table, that particular, with all the kids and the parents and everything else. And yeah, we're still not sure to this day how we all managed to fit around that table. Because when you look at that, we had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 of us sitting around that table that night, and we were comfortable. But that night, like 25 years beforehand, we had something like 18 people sitting around that table, kids and adults, around that table in my great aunt's kitchen. And we still to this day can't figure out how and us as 9 adults, and then Anthony, his girlfriend, turned up, so there were now 11 of us. We couldn't understand how, there was 11 of us sitting at that table. How did we get 18 people sitting around this table? We still can't figure it out to this day. But every square inch of that table had somebody sitting at it. It was awesome. So, remind, if you're talking to people from that family, just talk about that event, because they may have been at that event and they may have had their own perspective on it. And, we had a great discussion trying to remember who was sitting at the table. And yeah, we came up with like 18 people, I think, 17 or 18 people. And it was a lot of fun. Remember not to rush. Give them time to reflect on each question so they can provide a thoughtful response. If you're asking them about something that took place, 15, 20, 30, 50, 60 years ago, give them time to recall. They may turn and go, oh, not quite sure. And if you can give them a year, go, well, according to what I have been told or what my records show, this event happened around this particular year, which meant you would have been about 29. Oh, 29. Yeah. And you may have to, and they might go, 29, what was I doing when I was 29? And let them talk themselves through that. So don't rush them. Take breaks to avoid fatigue. Give their voice a rest, bathroom breaks, refreshment breaks, take breaks. Always end on a positive note. Gratitude, 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 gratitude. Thank them for sharing their stories and their time. And let them know that you would like, if at all possible, you would like to be able to come back, because you know that there's many more memories that they have to share. And you want to keep it to like 90 minutes to 2 hours. No more than that. That's just too exhausting. Even if you are taking frequent breaks. But let them know that you're available to talk more if other memories come up later. Because they might turn around and say, hey, call you up and go, hey, Helen, I remembered about blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, well, hang on, let me get my recorder. And there are recorders that you can get that you can attach to your phone that will then do a digital recording. Keep that handy in your phone. So if they do call and start doing that, or you could turn and say, hey, that's really great. Let me take a note of it now. Can I set up a time to come and talk with you so we can record it? Ask them that way too. Share the results from the interviews. Okay. Let them know, type up the transcripts from the videos, or type up the transcripts from the videos so that they get to sit and read it and see their story. Follow up with clarifying questions. After going through your notes and through the recordings and everything else, there may be some things that you're unclear of. There might be some details missing. Ask them. Just follow up and ask them. And like I said, respect their time and energy. Short sessions. Avoid sitting and talking all day. Just 90 minutes to 2 hours. 2 hours at the absolute maximum, and split it into multiple sessions throughout the day so that you're taking those breaks so they can have a mental break. They can have a physical break. They can get refreshments, and be mindful of their energy, especially with the older ones. If you see them starting to get tired and all that, call it quits. Even if it's only been an hour and they're talking and it looks like they're about to fall asleep, even after you've taken like 3 breaks, that's it. You're done. Don't keep reading their body language. Are they engaged? Are they tired? Are they trying to mask the fact that they're tired? And let them know that, hey, I'll tell you what, let's take a break from this and let's set up another day and time to come back and do this again. Would that be okay? So just respect their time and their energy, especially if you see that they're starting to fade. Just turn around and say, hey, you look like you might, it doesn't mean to say that, excuse me. It's not the fact that you, just let them know that, hey, I think this is a good time for us to take a break, and maybe we can come back another day and continue. Would that be okay with you? And if they're like, no, we can go a little longer, say, well, I can only go another 30 minutes longer. And then I have to go, and then I've got to go because this, make up an excuse. Have an excuse ready. Okay. Let them know that you only want to talk for 90 minutes to 2 hours, maybe 2 hours with breaks. But the actual talk time is 90 minutes. So let them know when you're getting close to it. Say, hey, look, I've got some other questions I need to ask you, but we're going to run out of time. Is it okay if I come back on another day and we continue this conversation? Most of the time they're going to be, yeah, we can do that. So do that. It's a way of respecting their time and letting them know that you do have more questions. You just don't want to get into them now, because let them know, look, I said I was only going to be here for this length of time. We're coming close to that time. If I start on these questions now with the way you've been answering the questions I've already given you, we're going to be here a whole lot longer, and I want to respect the time that that you have given me today. So can I come back? So is it okay if we set up another time to come back and talk further? Yeah. Grandma, I got to go. You can always turn around and say it that way too if you need to. But at least put it in a respectful way, that you are respecting their time, and that you promise that you're only going to be here for a certain amount of time, and you want to respect that time. And knowing the questions that are coming, they're probably going to want to talk longer, and you want to do that when they're fresh. When they're, no, maybe not use that word, but you want to have the time for them to talk, and you don't want to go over the time that you've already allocated for them today. So just put it in a way that they will respect. Remember to thank them for it, and then just pack up your stuff and go. And if they want you to stay for a cup of tea, stay for a cup of tea. But just say, look, I can only stay another few minutes because I then have to go and do whatever is next on your agenda that you need to go do. Okay, so that's about interviewing family members, getting it set up and all of that. We can talk about, there's a whole bunch of different questions that you can ask. I have a list of, I think 100 questions. 120. I should have put the QR code up there instead of the book club one. I should have put the other one up there where you can go and you can get the book Family Tree Decoded, which comes with the questions as well. Stay tuned till tomorrow night. Come back tomorrow night and I'll have that all switched up so you guys can scan the code and go get the book with the questions. Okay, with that, I'm out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back.